For those born under the sign of Taurus, a critical period is approaching. A deep understanding of this time can prevent many adversities and open the path to true well-being. It's time to finally resolve issues concerning a series of failures, unforeseen troubles, and prolonged hardships, which, as it turns out, often stem from hidden vampirism in relationships. It's time for Taurus individuals to stop uncontrollably giving away their precious financial energy, squandering vital positivity, depleting inner strength, and scattering luck that seems to slip through their fingers. However, cosmic forces appear to have decided to put an end to this imbalance. The powerful influence of Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, and Saturn, extending across the entire zodiac in 2025, is designed to help Taurus deal with anyone who, consciously or unconsciously, hinders their true prosperity. These are not just beautiful words or vague predictions. This is a real, tangible opportunity to reclaim lost strength, restore trampled respect, and achieve long-desired well-being. A complete reset of life scenarios awaits, after which no energy vampire will be able to stand in the way of your personal happiness and success. Special attention should be paid to an astrological event occurring on July 9th, when Jupiter enters Gemini. For Tauruses, this transit marks the beginning of a period where even the slightest manifestation of frivolity and superficiality in interpersonal relationships can turn seemingly harmless and simple connections into sources of deep disappointment and tangible losses. It is well known that Jupiter traditionally expands and multiplies everything it touches, while Gemini, in turn, governs areas of general acquaintances, daily communication, relationships with neighbors, and siblings. All of this relates to the third house of the horoscope, which is responsible for communications and immediate surroundings. For the patient, thoughtful, and stable Taurus, accustomed to deep and fundamental connections, this can become a truly dangerous zone requiring heightened vigilance. Now, the risk increases of being drawn into toxic romantic or friendly scenarios where, instead of mutual support, sincere exchange, and equal partnership, Taurus individuals will be used as an inexhaustible source of energy and joy. These unscrupulous individuals will carefully, step by step, drain their life force, skillfully masquerading as sincere care, loyal friendship, or even passionate love, making them even more dangerous and difficult to recognize. Sometimes, one might encounter someone who generously promises love and understanding, but in reality, all these deceptive words only lead to ruthless emotional exhaustion. Often, such requests and demands, quickly transforming into burdensome obligations, come through acquaintances, neighbors, or colleagues, destroying the individual's inner balance. When Taurus, whose nature strives for concreteness and immutability, encounters such behavior, they begin to feel that their former sense of love has turned into genuine torture. Imagine, a person tirelessly supports a friend who constantly complains and demands attention, but never receives reciprocity. Or a partner easily evades discussing a shared future, plunging them into a whirlpool of uncertainty and emotional emptiness. Is such behavior deliberate? All these are classic manifestations of energy vampirism, which during this period is especially fueled by Jupiter's influence in Gemini. Taurus, by nature, is inclined to give, but in such toxic conditions, they are deprived of joy and a sense of security. Ultimately, though perhaps not immediately, they will fortunately manage to develop a strict filter for contacts, learn to control communication, and stop engaging in empty conversations and obligations that only deplete their vital resources. Jupiter in Gemini will undoubtedly facilitate the expansion of social connections, but for Taurus, this is by no means a reason to blindly bestow their trust. True love is meant to give strength, not to become a source of bitter disappointments and continuous energy losses. On July 13th, retrograde Saturn begins its movement in Pisces. This astrological event represents a significant impact on the 12th house of the Taurus horoscope, the abode of secret ill-wishers, subconscious fears, and karmic obligations. The constellation Pisces is traditionally associated with illusions, deep compassion, and self-sacrifice. For Taurus individuals, who value stability and financial security above all else, this period will mark a time when veils will fall, and it will become clear who is truly draining their life energy and who is merely skillfully feigning support. At the same time, it remains uncertain whose influence will prove more destructive. Relationships previously perceived as reliable support now begin to reveal themselves as insidious traps, consuming vital forces. Individuals of this zodiac sign increasingly feel exhausted, as if they are carrying the burden of others' problems on their shoulders. Such a state is by no means a coincidence. Saturn's influence urges them to stop and look intently at reality. The question arises, who in their immediate circle is the true energy absorber, causing permanent fatigue and constant psychological pressure? For example, a person might continuously help an acquaintance who constantly complains about life, but when they themselves need mutual support, they receive a refusal or complete disregard, accompanied by numerous excuses for non-participation. Or it could be a life partner who, under the guise of deep affection, completely controls their partner's actions, almost every step, forcing them to feel guilty for the slightest signs of weakness and thereby draining their financial resources. All of this is a classic manifestation of the 12th house, subtle restrictions and destructive attachments that at first glance remain unnoticed but continuously undermine the personality from within. This is precisely where the real danger lies. For Tauruses, who by nature strive for unshakable reliability, such relationships can turn into an especially painful blow. Their accustomed stability crumbles precisely in those areas where they least expect upheaval. During this period, retrograde Saturn offers them a unique opportunity to deeply understand the true boundaries of their self and, most importantly, to learn to decisively defend them. Otherwise, there is a high risk of falling into a deep energy pit, accompanied by a constant sense of guilt and overwhelming fatigue. Finally, they will manage to break the chains of energetic dependence that have bound them for so long. The way out of this situation lies in establishing clear personal boundaries and a categorical refusal of the victim mentality, where one expends their own precious resources to solve others' problems. Saturn in Pisces does not promise comfort, on the contrary, it calls for extreme honesty with oneself and for liberation from those who, acting stealthily, nevertheless confidently suppress their will. Only in this way can Tauruses preserve their inner strength and reach a completely new level of existence, becoming truly free and protected. On July 28, Mars moves into Virgo. For Taurus individuals, this event will mark the beginning of a powerful energy block forming in the 6th house of the horoscope, the sphere of work, health, and daily habits. Mars, as is known, is a planet symbolizing activity, decisiveness, and at times, even aggression. Virgo, in turn, is associated with critical thinking, order, and analysis. The combined influence of these two celestial bodies raises pressing questions: where is their financial energy leaking, and why does the constant, exhausting struggle with poverty seem so meaningless to them? Tauruses, whose nature inherently seeks stability and a sense of material comfort, may encounter certain energy barriers during this period. These obstacles, like invisible bonds, drain vital forces, directing them towards useless chores, minor misunderstandings, and an excessive pursuit of perfection. Often, it is in professional activities or daily domestic concerns that individuals of this sign find themselves drawn into a series of endless conflict situations and a tangible overspending of their own resources. They make significant efforts, trying to keep everything under their vigilant control, but with bitterness, they notice how energy irrevocably leaks away, and the desired result remains unattainable. For example, one might observe a situation where a person completely dedicates themselves to work, investing their strength and time, but at the same time, management or colleagues systematically ignore their efforts, shifting their own responsibilities onto them, while themselves leading a completely carefree life. Or, despite careful and constant budget tracking, expenses continue to steadily increase due to suddenly arising debts or incessant minor expenditures on so-called important little things. The presence of Mars in Virgo only exacerbates these difficult circumstances, provoking the development of chronic stress and mounting internal tension. Hence originate the so-called attacks of poverty, when Tauruses begin to feel like victims of unfavorable circumstances and others' energetic influence, as if some external force is purposefully blocking their money flow. During this time, sudden financial shocks are indeed possible, from delays in salary payments to a rapid increase in debts and unforeseen expenses related to satisfying others' needs. Furthermore, individuals may appear in their circle who will actively impose their problems and consume resources, offering nothing in return. However, there is a definite solution. It is necessary to stop taking on others' burdens and learn to decisively filter out excessive obligations. The main task is to maximally reduce contact with those who systematically drain vital forces and financial resources. The priority should be not aimless fuss, but conscious and disciplined work aimed at achieving concrete results, rather than empty, unproductive efforts. The financial forecast for Tauruses indicates the onset of a period of thorough budget review and an unconditional abandonment of projects that have ceased to generate income or were initially unprofitable. A wasteful attitude towards one's own resources is unacceptable, otherwise, there is a risk of falling into a debt trap or endlessly postponing the implementation of important plans. Such procrastination has, unfortunately, already become a persistent habit. And if solving money problems has been delayed until now, it will now require acting with extreme rigidity. It should be emphasized once again, this refers to harsh, even cynical measures, including in some cases, cutting expenses, refusing unnecessary obligations, and establishing clear personal boundaries. Fortunately, there is an opportunity to restore the financial flow and, more importantly, to stop feeding the so-called energy vampires who hide under the guise of friends, relatives, colleagues, anyone. Otherwise, the fight against poverty risks dragging on, and Mars and Virgo will mercilessly cut to the quick, forcing them to pay an excessively high price for every mistake. Money energy, dear readers, is not a gratuitous resource for others. It is time to regain full control of the situation and decisively repel all who parasitize on others' strengths under the guise of help. It is important to remember, true enemies often hide under the mask of help. From July 17 to August 11, the planet Mercury is in retrograde motion in the constellation Leo. For Taurus individuals, this astrological phenomenon portends serious trials affecting the fifth house of their horoscope, an area traditionally associated with creative self-expression, romantic relationships, and personal realization. The sign of Leo symbolizes ambition, pride, and the desire to be in the spotlight, while retrograde Mercury, conversely, often becomes a source of confusion, errors, and mutual misunderstandings. During this period, Tauruses, who usually value stability and honesty in both personal and professional connections, risk encountering situations where their unique talents and significant achievements may be simply ignored or, even more unpleasantly, devalued. Often, others recognize the value of Taurus's efforts but act to their detriment. The reason for such underestimation often lies in the excessive softness of their formulations, their excessive gullibility, and their inability to effectively present their successes in the manner that energetic Leo demands. During this time, Tauruses may be used as convenient tools in romantic or business intrigues, where all the hard work falls on their shoulders, while the accolades and recognition go to others. This is a period when those around them particularly actively exploit Taurus's kindness and constancy, as if stealing their luck. For example, if Taurus initiates a new project or demonstrates creative initiative, colleagues or partners may receive the recognition and associated bonuses. Or in personal life, when Taurus invests all their soul and strength, in return they may only encounter silence, indifference, or complete disregard, creating a feeling that their contribution is meaningless. Energy vampires are especially sensitive to moments when Taurus's energy field can be weakened, and it is precisely now that their activity reaches its peak. The connection with the fifth house of the horoscope emphasizes that losses occur precisely in those areas where Tauruses expect recognition and sincere love, but instead receive the exact opposite reaction. The combination of retrograde Mercury and Leo's energy contributes to the spread of lies, gossip, and omissions, all that undermines Taurus's luck and success, depriving them of opportunities for full development. Nevertheless, there is no need to succumb to panic. It is important to maintain inner resilience, not allowing one's personality to be turned into a tool for realizing others' aspirations, for otherwise, not only the favor of fate and the inner drive to act, but also life energy as a whole, will be jeopardized. It is extremely important for Tauruses to realize, only strict control over communication and the ability to decisively refuse can protect what they have earned through long labor. Otherwise, as noted earlier, Mercury retrograde in Leo will not be able to help them emerge from the deep abyss of undervaluation and bitter disappointments, and all their efforts may prove completely useless. The turning point will arrive on August 9, when Mars in Libra will be in opposition to retrograde Neptune. In this context, the key interaction unfolds within the 11th house, the sphere traditionally associated with friendship, social groups, and community ties. The attributes of Libra, undoubtedly, imbue this area with a desire for harmony and a striving for justice. However, the retrograde movement of Neptune has the property of removing veils and revealing the true essence of things. For Tauruses, whom nature, or, if you will, the universe, has endowed with extraordinary resilience and an aversion to all falsehood, this transit becomes a most serious test, but at the same time, an opportunity to find a way out of the current situation. It should be remembered, the habit of humility and a willingness to participate in others' manipulative games will turn against them. The surrounding world, unfortunately, increasingly demonstrates that even the closest people are capable of deception. This phenomenon is becoming more and more widespread. A legitimate question arises: what is happening to humanity, and what is the nature of these changes? Even those who were previously considered reliable friends are becoming involved in this sad dynamic. The time has come to realize the need to stop being overly kind and forgiving, especially towards those who turn one's life into an arena of lies and betrayal. Perhaps, adopting the concept of cynicism as a tool for self-defense is advisable. According to the astrological influences of the 11th house, toxic relationships tend to spread through social circles, like an infection. Gossip, envy, outright lies, and treacherous setups become pervasive. This causes bewilderment. Is the world truly losing its mind? Do not be surprised if behind a mask of friendliness lurk individuals who use others solely for their own selfish purposes, ready to discard a person at any moment. For Taurus individuals, such treachery is an especially strong blow to their self-esteem and inner balance. Consider a typical example: a person invests significant effort in relationships with friends or colleagues, provides help, shares ideas, and even financial resources, but in return, only encounters gossip and sees their reputation deliberately undermined behind their back. Such situations cause a feeling of deep disappointment. Or, even more painfully, when a seemingly close person, to whom complete trust was extended, suddenly assumes the role of an adversary, shamelessly exploiting another's kindness for their own selfish ends. The period of retrograde Neptune is traditionally considered a time of deep disappointments, when all illusions dissipate, and one must face the truth, however bitter it may be. Nevertheless, there is no reason for Tauruses to give in to gloom or despair. The current state of affairs is by no means as bleak as it might seem. Cosmic forces, it should be emphasized again, invariably stand by them, protecting them from adversities and preventing harm. During this period, their innate resilience becomes critically important. The time has come to decisively cut off communication and completely sever ties with those who systematically drain their vital energy. This is precisely the turning point when Tauruses stop acting as victims and begin to take full and absolute control over all aspects of their existence. There is no doubt that they will manage to break harmful ties and stop feeding the so-called energy vampires, hiding under the guise of friends or other close ones. Soon, their existence will gradually become orderly, and their vital forces and financial energy will be fully restored. New relationships, built on principles of honesty and mutual respect, will undoubtedly provide them with stability and lead to undeniable success. An era of cleansing and triumph is dawning. And I want to add one important piece of advice: Tauruses should show greater toughness. As mentioned, it is advisable, within reasonable limits, to introduce the concept of cynicism. It is necessary to completely distance themselves from anyone who tries to exploit their good nature and desire for stability. They should not seek excuses for others' actions or turn a blind eye to acts of betrayal. Their true power lies in unshakable firmness and the ability to uncompromisingly defend their own interests. This period demands maximum honesty, first and foremost with themselves, and unwavering control and protection of their own energy. And in general, finally, it's time to stop showing weakness and naivety in their own lives. The moment has come to take everything that rightfully belongs to them and not yield an inch. The world belongs to those who are capable of fighting for their own ideals and achieving victories for themselves.